Let's talk about tools. Everything in this guide is what I consider to be the tools needed to be a mobile metalsmith. These can all be packed away in a little box and set aside and then pulled out onto your kitchen table when you're ready to work. They can travel with you if you want to go places and make based on your inspirations. This toolkit is easily accessible. It's an affordable way to start your journey as a metalsmith. So here are your soldering essentials. First, we have our soldering bestie, the butane torch. This torch is awesome for learning. It's awesome for taking with you on the go, and it is easy to get. It's essentially a creme brulee torch. You can get it in any hardware store. You can get it at a kitchen supply store. Butane is affordable and easy to come by. It's a great place to start. It does have its limitations, however. While it's great for sterling silver and gold fill, butane torches don't have quite the same amount of control in temperature and in size of the flame that you need for working with solid gold, and it doesn't quite get hot enough for working with materials like brass. So it does have its limitations, but for what we are doing with sterling silver, and some of you might be interested in doing gold fill, this is a great place to start. All of your soldering is going to be taking place on a soldering block. The soldering blocks are not only a surface to solder on top of, but it absorbs and reflects the heat back up to your piece, making soldering smooth and easy. And then, of course, you don't want to be touching any of your metal while it's being heated, so we have tools like your soldering pick, tweezers, and your fiber grippers that either hold your metal in place or help you move solder and pieces around when it's hot. A few more soldering essentials here. The silver solder flux is going to tell your solder where you want it to flow to. So it communicates with your solder, essentially telling it, hey, I want you to fill this joint here, but don't go anywhere else. So it's essential to the soldering process. And then the thin paintbrush is to apply the flux to your piece. You're probably wondering, why is there a mini crock pot? The mini crock pot is what you're going to be using to heat your pickle. Pickle can be found in many different ways. My preference is to heat up vinegar and salt in the crock pot, and that pickle, it's potent and it cleans all the fire scale off of your sterling silver piece. And then the copper tongs that you see here are what you use inside of the pickle. You always use copper tongs. You never use your stainless steel because of contamination. These tools here are for metal forming, not necessary to the soldering process, but necessary for forming your metal to the shapes that you'd like it to be. So, of course, wire cutters are in the name, they cut wire. You'll also use wire cutters to cut your solder, which of course we will be going over when we're talking about the process. Slim chain nose pliers are great for opening up your jump rings or bending wire material. Round nose pliers are great for making jump rings, forming loops, or findings. Fisker trimmers, I love these. These are my go-to tool for cutting metal. Um, you can use you can use a saw, you can use metal scissors, but to me, the way that the Fisker trimmers hold, it's great. It's essential to my toolkit. And then the bale forming pliers. I use these all of the time for my ear wire forms and also for making loops and large jump rings. More forming materials here. The stainless steel hammering plate is used for resistance. It's used to help you hammer your metal. So if you want to create texture, if you want to use a hallmark stamp to signify what type of metal that you are working with, you're going to be using the steel hammer plate for all of your hammering. You might also use an anvil if that's more easily found for you, but a small stainless steel plate is great. A metal mandrel for forming rings. There's also mandrels for forming bangles, but the mandrel is essential when you are making stacking rings or rings in general. And then the rawhide hammer is for forming your rings around the mandrel. You can use stainless steel hammers for texture, but the rawhide hammer will allow you to form your silver or your metal around the mandrel without dinging or changing the facade of your ring. Sandpaper, files are all used for smoothing your metal. So when you're creating a joint in your soldering, you want it to be nice and smooth. You need that joint to be flush. And so you'll be using files to achieve that. You'll be using files to form your metal. The sandpaper is a great way to smooth out bezels and your rings, and we will be going over how to use all of these soon, but your files are also an essential part of your toolkit. And when you get into stone setting, these tools here are going to be your stone setting besties. We've got a lot of bestie tools, and these are part of that crew. Your ring clamp holds your ring in place so you're not fumbling and trying to figure it out. It holds it nice and steady. A curved burnisher helps you smooth your bezels. A bezel roller does the same, just a different motion with your hands, and the square bezel pusher as well. So burnisher, bezel roller, square bezel pusher, they're all awesome for making bezel settings. Just they all have a different feel and how you do the process. So you as an artist will find a tool that you prefer, or you get into a position when you're trying to set a stone and one of these tools will work better than the other. And then lastly, there's the prong pusher. You can see here it has a little divot in it, and so when you're doing prong settings, this prong pusher holds on to that prong, holds onto the wire and helps form it over your stone. So you will be getting to know these intimately when we get into stone setting. And finally, these polishing and finishing tools transform your piece from being fire scaled or rough and coarse, and then really take them over the finish line to being presentable, to being a finished final product. And so your rotary tool is going to be is essential to that process. You can get a flex shaft, but this rotary tool I have here is handheld. It's portable, so that's why I've included it in our list. It makes it easy for setup and putting away, and also for traveling if that's what you're using this kit for. They can be chargeable, so you don't even need to have a power source wherever you're set up. The radial bristle discs are awesome for cleaning off anything extra that didn't come off with your pickle, removing any debris that needs to be taken off. I like to use the yellow 3M. I believe it's 80 grit, but there's a full range of bristle radial discs, and you can vary your coarseness. It can apply texture and a finish to it if you want a brushed finished look. There's coarse polishing wheels. That's the black ones. They remove, they're the initial phase of polishing. They remove any unwanted texture, any unwanted solder. Then you move into the medium polishing wheels, which is the blue guys. That's where you start to see the polishing happening. It's like, oh, there's a shine. And then you get into the fine polishing wheel, which is the pink, and then you're like, whoa, there it is. I have a finished product. It's like magic. And then if you really want to take it to the next level, there is a red polish that gives it that really high professional polished look. And we will talk about that, but that's not essential for our toolkit now. And then an old toothbrush, because once all of the debris is polished away, you're going to find that there's a little bit of grit left over on your piece. So you'll take the old toothbrush, some Dawn dish soap, scrub, 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 rinse, and your piece will be finished.